Ever since I was a little girl, my mother taught me one golden rule: date bad boys for the thrill, but marry a boring man for stability. I lived by that belief. And in New York City, I found the ultimate bad boy. His name was Landon Pierce. He was a notorious heartbreaker, the kind of man who could look at a woman and say, "Out of all of them, you're the one I care about most," and somehow make her believe it. And me, I wasn't innocent either. I was the queen of mixed signals, a master of emotional chess wrapped in silk dresses and soft smiles. My favorite line was simple: "I can't sleep because I'm not sleeping next to you." People said we were the perfect toxic couple. They weren't wrong. We weren't built on trust. We were built on tension, on jealousy, on the thrill of almost losing each other. But a month ago, everything changed. My mother was diagnosed with early-stage lung cancer. Standing in those sterile hospital hallways, watching her try to act strong while fear sat quietly in her eyes, something inside me shifted. For the first time in my life, stability didn't sound boring. It sounded necessary. So I decided I was going to leave Landon. What I didn't realize is that walking away from a game you're winning isn't nearly as easy as it sounds. Landon hates answering his phone. But finding him, that's easy. He practically owns a private section at Obsidian, an upscale lounge in Manhattan. Out of 365 days a year, he's probably there, 360. And tonight was no exception. When I walked in, I saw him immediately. Tall, effortless, impossible to ignore. He had just lost a round of cards and was taking a shot off the body of a girl leaning across the table. She laughed too loudly, like she already thought she'd won something. She noticed me approaching and gave me a syrupy smile. "Hey," she said sweetly. "You don't mind, right? We're just playing." I smiled back, matching her tone perfectly. "Of course not. You're adorable. Honestly, why don't you just move into our penthouse? We have plenty of space." Her smile twitched. She rolled her eyes and turned back to the table. I shifted my gaze to Landon, and right on cue, my eyes filled with tears. Clean. Controlled. "Does he hate me?" I said softly, just loud enough for the table to hear. "Maybe I should just go home. It's pouring outside and I didn't even bring an umbrella." I looked toward a broad-shouldered college-looking guy sitting nearby. Maybe he could walk me out. Landon's eyes darkened instantly. He scanned the guy from head to toe with a slow, territorial stare. The poor guy lifted both hands. "Whoa, don't drag me into this. Everybody knows Landon's obsessed with you, Harper." The mood shifted. Landon downed the rest of his drink, gently pushed the other girl aside and stood up. "I'm heading out," he announced casually. "My girl's jealous. Gotta take her home and fix it. Drinks are on me tonight." Cheers exploded around us. He pulled me into his arms like he just won something. I didn't resist. In the car, the city lights flashed across his face as he kept glancing at me. "Are you actually mad?" he asked. "You know I was just messing around." There it was. "Out of all of them, you're the one I care about most." He said it softer this time, almost convincing. If I wasn't so shallow, if I wasn't so addicted to his face, I would have left years ago. He leaned closer, brushing his lips near my ear. "What perfume is that?" he murmured. "Vanilla? You smell insane. I swear you drive me crazy." "Landon," I said, cutting through his tone. "I want to break up." He paused, then smiled slowly. "What role play is this? CEO and rebellious assistant? Stranger on a plane?" "I'm serious." My face didn't move. His smile faded. He leaned back in his seat, flipping his lighter open and closed. Calm. Irritatingly calm. "All right," he said finally. "Give me one reason that actually makes sense. There are too many women. Have any of them ever shown up at our door? Have you ever caught me in bed with one?" I hesitated. Technically, no. I didn't have proof. "I want to get married," I said instead. I expected panic. A laugh. A refusal. Instead, he shrugged. "Pick a date. We'll go to City Hall." Like marriage was just paperwork. Like vows didn't mean anything. "My mom wants me to find someone reliable," I added quietly. He tossed the lighter onto the dashboard and smirked. "Then let's go ask her which part of me isn't reliable. She just got out of surgery. Don't stress her." He pulled me closer again, kissing my cheek. "I'm joking," he said. "You're just bored?" That night, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen. Elena, the one everyone said he never got over. "Your phone," I said. He walked out of the bathroom with a towel around his waist, water still tracing down his chest. "Hello?" Pause. "Tonight?" "Yeah, I'll come get you." He hung up and leaned down to kiss my forehead. Something came up. "Be good. Go to sleep." It was 1 a.m. A man who leaves after a late-night call from his ex. That was it. My chance. As soon as his car pulled out of the garage, I grabbed my keys and followed him. He drove to a hotel downtown. I waited an hour before knocking on the door of the room he entered. The door opened. A girl in a simple white dress, hair in a loose braid. She looked almost innocent. "Elena," I said. I lifted my phone and started recording. "Are you crazy?" she whispered. Landon stepped out of the bathroom, fully dressed, not a wrinkle in his shirt. That didn't make sense. "Delete that," he snapped. "Now." He reached for my phone. I pressed it against my chest. "You said I needed proof to leave you. This isn't proof of anything." It's the middle of the night. You didn't come here just to say hello. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Soft. Fragile. I almost laughed. I was the girlfriend. I was supposed to cry. She grabbed his sleeve. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to cause problems. I widened my eyes. Landon, yell at me if you want. Just tell me one thing. Between her and me, who do you love more? He grabbed my waist and leaned close to my ear. Stop the drama. Delete the video. Panic, not guilt. You're choosing her, I said quietly. Go home, Harper. I actually have something important to handle. There it was. I deleted the video right in front of him, then I walked away. That same night, I moved back into my own apartment. My chest felt tight the entire drive home. Maybe after hearing, "You're the one I care about most" 100 times, I started believing it, but tonight proved something. He either loved her, or he respected her more. And I wasn't sure which one hurt worse. The breakup didn't explode. It settled, quiet, sharp, heavy. And the strangest part? My mother was thrilled. The morning after I left Landon, she dragged me to an elite matchmaking agency in Midtown like it was an emergency. Ms. Hayes, the woman at the desk said smoothly, we offer the silver package, the gold package. Give my daughter the platinum executive package. My mother interrupted. Mom, I whispered, embarrassed. You need that money. She squeezed my hand. Her grip was weaker than it used to be. At my age, I've seen enough, she said. Your future matters more than my lungs. I hated when she said things like that. The matchmaker smiled like she'd just closed a sale. She handed me a thick folder. These are exceptional men, she said proudly. Established, stable, no scandals. I flipped through the profiles. Doctors, investors, real estate developers. Every face looked painfully normal. My brain was still stuck on Landon's stupidly perfect jawline. Your phone is ringing, the matchmaker said gently. I looked down. Landon. I stepped away before answering. Hello, did you delete the video or not? His voice was tight, controlled anger. It's deleted. Technically true. Last night I deleted it in front of him. This morning I recovered it, and I sold it for $2,000. I didn't even negotiate. It wasn't about the money. It was about damage. By now, the video was everywhere. Headlines exploded. Billionaire heir spotted in secret late-night hotel meeting. But that wasn't the real story. The real story came an hour later. Elena wasn't just an ex. She was rumored to be the secret daughter of a rival family, which explained the panic. Which explained why Landon wanted that video gone. I deleted it, I repeated sweetly. I'm terrible with technology, though. Maybe it synced somewhere? Silence. Then he laughed, cold, short. Where are you? Busy. Doing what? I'm getting married. I hung up before he could respond. Then, without really looking, I pointed at one of the profiles in the folder. Him. I'll meet him. The folder closed with a soft thud. The name printed at the bottom of the page felt deliberate. Nathan Cole. 34. Tech entrepreneur. Estimated net worth high enough to make headlines. No scandals. No rumors. No chaos. Boring. Exactly what my mother wanted. Nathan's building wasn't flashy. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that felt expensive. The elevator ride up felt longer than it should have. When the penthouse doors opened, he was already standing there. Tall, dark suit, no tie. He wasn't devastatingly handsome like Landon. He didn't need to be. There was something else about him. Control. Harper Hayes, he said evenly. Come in. His voice wasn't seductive. It was firm, like he was used to being obeyed. The apartment was minimal. Clean lines. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. No music playing. No drinks waiting. No performance. My mother can wait in the lounge, he said calmly. I'd prefer to speak with you alone. Not a suggestion. My mom hesitated but nodded. The door closed behind us. Nathan walked toward the window. I stayed where I was. You sold the video for $2,000, he said without turning around. My stomach tightened. That's not a large number, he continued, considering the damage it caused. I didn't destroy him, I said. I exposed him. He finally turned to look at me. His eyes weren't warm. They were analytical. No, he said quietly. You started a war. My pulse quickened. What does that have to do with marriage? He stepped closer, slow, deliberate. Landon Pierce isn't just a reckless heir. He's my primary competitor. The air shifted. And you, he added, just made yourself very interesting. There it was. Not stability, not safety. Strategy. Are you proposing marriage? I asked carefully. Or an alliance? He tilted his head slightly. Both. My phone buzzed on the table. Landon. Nathan glanced at the screen. Answer it. I held his gaze. For the first time in my life, I wasn't sure who was manipulating who. I swiped to accept. I need to see you, Landon said immediately. Now. I looked at Nathan. He didn't look away. Tell him where you are, Nathan murmured. My heart pounded. I'm busy, I said. I know exactly where you are, Landon replied calmly. Nathan Cole, penthouse, glass walls, Minimalist nightmare. My blood ran cold. Nathan didn't look surprised. You have 5 minutes to explain why you're playing with my competition, Landon continued. Competition. Nathan extended his hand slightly, not touching me, just claiming space. Invite him up, he said quietly. Landon heard. Is he with you right now? I didn't answer. My silence was confirmation. Good, Landon said. Don't make me wait in the lobby. The line went dead. The air felt heavier. Does he have access to your security system? I asked. No, Nathan replied calmly. He has access to half of Manhattan. I swallowed. What do you collect? I asked him. For the first time, a faint smile touched his lips. Outcomes. The private elevator chimed. No knock. No announcement. Landon walked in like the building belonged to him. Dark suit. No smile. No charm. His eyes locked on me first. Then Nathan. Cole. Pierce. No handshakes, no jokes, just tension. Landon stepped closer and took my wrist. Not hard, not gentle, exact. Is this part of your little performance? He asked softly. You didn't accept the breakup, I replied. Nathan moved slightly forward. She's here for a formal proposal. Landon let out a dry laugh. Since when do you do anything that isn't hostile strategy? Since someone decided to turn a private matter into a public spectacle, Nathan answered. There it was again. The video, the war. Landon looked at me differently now. Not angry, not hurt, measuring. Do you really think that affected me? He asked quietly. I didn't respond. He leaned closer. What you did wasn't revenge, he said. It was a declaration. My heart pounded. Of what? That you're still playing with me. Nathan's voice cut in smoothly. She's playing to win. Landon's jaw tightened. You don't know how to play with fire, Cole. Nathan didn't raise his tone. I don't play with fire. I own the building. Silence fell between them, and I stood in the middle of it. Thrill, stability, power, and for the first time, I wasn't sure which one I actually wanted. The silence between them wasn't loud. It was controlled, measured, dangerous. Landon didn't let go of my wrist. Are you actually considering this? He asked me quietly. This? I replied. You mean a man who doesn't disappear at 1 a.m. when his ex calls? His eyes flickered. Nathan stepped closer, not touching me, just standing firm. She's free to make her own decisions. Landon let out a short laugh. Free? That's cute. Then he looked at me again. Harper, let's go. 3 words. Not a command this time, almost a request. Nathan didn't interrupt. He didn't push. He just said, evenly, the choice is yours. And somehow that felt heavier than Landon's grip. My phone vibrated in my purse. Once, twice. I ignored it. Landon noticed. Answer it. I pulled it out. Unknown number. I opened the message. A photo. My mother leaving the hospital that afternoon. Taken from a distance. Zoomed in. Clear. Below it, 1 sentence. Wars always have collateral damage. My stomach dropped. What did you do? I whispered. I didn't even know which one I was asking. Landon frowned. What are you talking about? Nathan held out his hand. Show me. I hesitated for half a second, then handed him the phone. His expression didn't change as he studied the image. Not my style, he said calmly. Landon gave a dry smile. Too theatrical for you, right? I looked straight at him. Was it you? His eyes didn't move. If I wanted to pressure you, he said slowly, I wouldn't use your mother. That wasn't exactly a denial. Nathan stepped slightly closer to him. Your methods are getting sloppy. And yours are getting desperate? Landon shot back. My breathing felt uneven. This isn't a game, I said. Landon looked at me carefully. It never was. Nathan forwarded the image to himself without asking. I'll trace it. Landon crossed his arms. Since when are you protecting her? Nathan didn't hesitate. She decides who I protect. That sentence hung in the air. I decide. For so long, I thought I was the one pulling strings. Now I wasn't sure I was even holding them. From the other room, I heard my mother cough. Weak. Real. This wasn't about ego anymore. I want to know who sent that, I said firmly. You will, Nathan replied. Landon looked at me again. If you step into this, he said quietly, there's no clean way out. I stepped closer to him, lowering my voice. I've never left anything clean with you. For a moment, the old fire flashed in his eyes. Then it faded. You're walking into something bigger than you understand. Nathan's tone was calm. She understands enough. Landon held my gaze for a long second. This doesn't end here. Then he turned and walked toward the private elevator. The doors closed. Silence returned, but it wasn't empty. It felt like something had just shifted permanently. Do you know who sent it? I asked Nathan. Not yet. What does that mean? It means, he said, looking directly at me, that this is no longer just your problem. My pulse quickened. Explain. If someone is threatening your mother, they're escalating. Escalating. The word felt sharp. From the lounge, my mother called my name softly. Nathan lowered his voice. Tomorrow morning we announce our engagement. What? Publicly. That's insane. It forces movement, he said. Anyone watching will react. My mind raced. Scandal. War. Marriage. And if I don't actually want to marry you? He didn't smile. That depends on how this ends. My phone vibrated again. Another message. Elena isn't the only secret daughter. My breath caught. I showed Nathan. For the first time, something shifted in his expression. Concern. That's not random, he said quietly. Impossible, I whispered. Nothing is impossible when families are fighting over power. My mother stepped into the room slowly. Is everything okay? I smiled automatically. Perfect. Nathan's tone softened slightly when he addressed her. We'll be announcing our engagement tomorrow. Her eyes filled with tears. So soon? In unstable times, he said smoothly. Clarity is strength. She looked at me. Are you sure? I thought about Landon walking in without permission. The photo, the message, the word collateral. Yes, I said. The decision settled inside me like something final. Later, after I dropped my mother home, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Unknown numbers, news alerts, speculation about the Pierce scandal. Landon didn't call again. That worried me more. In the elevator of my mom's building, she looked at me quietly. I don't trust him, she murmured. Which one? I asked. Either of them. I gave a faint smile. Me neither. When I walked back to my car, I saw something on the driver's seat, a white envelope. No broken glass, no forced door. My heart began pounding. I opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph, me. Leaving the hotel the night of the video, the glowing sign behind me clearly showing the time. On the back, written in black ink, you started this. My chest tightened. This wasn't Landon. This wasn't Nathan. Someone else had been watching. And they'd been watching before I ever realized. My phone vibrated again. A message from Nathan. The press release goes out at 10 a.m. No clean way out. I stared at the photo again. If Elena wasn't the only secret daughter, then who else was hiding in this story? And more importantly, was I a piece on the board? Or was I the door someone was trying to unlock? I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw three things. My mother leaving the hospital, the white envelope on my car seat, and the words written in black ink, you started this. By 9:30 a.m., I was standing inside Nathan's penthouse dressing room. He had arranged everything. Press, security, timing, control. The dress he sent over wasn't bridal. It was ivory, structured, clean, no lace, no softness. It wasn't romantic. It was strategic. Nathan stood by the doorway in a dark suit. The press is downstairs, he said calmly. Did Landon confirm? I asked. Nathan's jaw shifted slightly. Of course he did. Of course. We took the private elevator down. When the doors opened, flashes exploded across the lobby. Voices overlapped. Is this engagement connected to the Pierce scandal? Did your relationship begin before the video leak? Is this a merger? Nathan held my hand firmly. Visible. Intentional. He answered smoothly. My relationship with Harper began when I realized she doesn't fold under pressure. Not love. Not destiny. Pressure. Then I saw him. Landon stood near the back of the crowd. Gray suit. No smile. No performance. Too controlled. Our eyes met. The old fire flickered for half a second. Then it hardened. A microphone was pushed toward me. Ms. Hayes, why commit so quickly? I felt the weight of the photograph inside my bag. The date printed in the corner. The message. Because I learned something recently, I said clearly. Stability isn't boring. It's power. Murmurs spread through the room. Landon tilted his head slightly. I kept going. And sometimes the truth takes decades to surface. The room shifted. A reporter caught it immediately. Are you referring to the recent scandal? I took a slow breath. I'm referring to 1998. Silence. It wasn't dramatic. It was sharp, like glass cracking quietly. Landon's expression changed, just slightly. Then another figure stepped forward from the side. An older man, silver hair, controlled posture. Richard Pierce, Landon's father. I believe this is a celebration, Richard said smoothly. Not the place for irrelevant speculation. Nathan's hand tightened slightly around mine. I stepped forward anyway. Mr. Pierce, I said evenly, would you like to clarify your connection to the coal heiress who died in 1998? The temperature in the room dropped. Cameras shifted. Richard didn't blink. That was a tragedy, he replied calmly. Nothing more. I pulled the photograph from my bag and lifted it slightly. It's interesting that someone wanted me to remember specific dates just days before the recent scandal broke. Richard didn't look at the photo. He looked at Nathan. This is reckless. Nathan finally spoke. What was reckless, he said evenly, was burying the truth for 27 years. The murmuring grew louder. And then she stepped forward. Elena. Simple white dress. No angel now. Just resolve. Stop, she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through everything. I sent the messages. The room froze. Landon turned toward her slowly. What did you do? Elena didn't look at him. She looked at Richard. My birth wasn't private, she said. It was hidden. The silence deepened. Richard's expression hardened. This is inappropriate. No, she replied calmly. It's overdue. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. I had a DNA test done 3 months ago. Landon looked stunned. You knew? He asked his father quietly. Richard said nothing. Elena continued. I'm not just some rumor. I'm his daughter. Gasps, flashes, chaos waiting to explode. And my mother, she added, was pregnant when she died in 1998. My pulse pounded in my ears. Nathan's expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. Understanding. Landon's face lost color. You're saying... I'm saying, Elena said steadily, that the accident wasn't just an accident. Richard finally spoke. These accusations are dangerous. Elena met his eyes. So is silence. Nathan leaned slightly toward me. If this holds legally, he murmured, ownership shifts. Ownership, control, power. This wasn't just about scandal. It was about inheritance, about equity, about a war that started before I ever walked into Velvet Room. Landon looked at me. Did you know? No, I said honestly. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't playing. Elena's eyes met mine. I needed someone unpredictable, she said. Someone who could trigger something I couldn't touch directly. You used me. Yes, no apology. Just truth. Richard stepped back, assessing damage. My legal team will address this, he said sharply, but it was too late. The cameras had already captured everything. The narrative had shifted. This wasn't about my engagement anymore. It was about 1998. About a woman who died. About a child who survived. Nathan's grip on my hand loosened slightly. This changes things, he murmured. Does it change us? I asked quietly. He looked at me honestly. That depends on what you want now. Landon stepped closer. Harper, he said, and for once his voice wasn't sharp. Let's leave. Not an order, a request. Elena lifted the DNA document slightly. This is only the beginning. And she was right, because the chaos didn't explode. It organized. Within an hour, headlines were everywhere. Secret daughter emerges. 1998, accident questioned. Pierce empire at risk. The engagement announcement became secondary, exactly as Nathan would have predicted, or exactly as Elena intended. We left through a private exit. No one spoke until the car doors shut. Landon slid into the seat across from me without asking. We need to talk, he said. Nathan didn't object. He simply adjusted the route. I stared out the window as Manhattan blurred by. Everything had shifted. But the real question wasn't about Landon, or Nathan, or even Elena. It was about what really happened in 1998, and whether the truth was something any of us were ready to face. The car ride was silent for a full 3 minutes. Not the awkward kind, the dangerous kind. Landon was the first to break it. Since when did you know? He asked Elena, his voice controlled but tight. 3 months, she answered. You waited. Yes. Nathan didn't look at either of them. He was watching the road ahead through the tinted glass, calm as ever. You don't get a DNA test like that overnight, Landon continued. You planned this. I prepared, she corrected. For what? He shot back. For the moment your father slipped. Silence again. I finally spoke. The photo in my car, I said. That was you too? Elena nodded once. I needed you angry, she admitted. You're reckless when you're angry, and reckless people create cracks. You could have just told me, I replied. No, she said softly. You wouldn't have believed me. You needed to think it was your idea. That stung. Because it was true. The car pulled into the underground garage of Nathan's building. We stepped out, tension following us like a shadow. Inside the private elevator, Landon looked different. Not fiery, not amused. Thinking, if this goes legal, he said quietly, my father loses control. Nathan finally spoke. If the original accident report is reopened, he loses more than control. Landon's jaw tightened. You're implying it wasn't an accident. I'm implying, Nathan replied calmly, that the file was closed in under 48 hours despite early mechanical inconsistencies. I felt my stomach turn. Mechanical inconsistencies? Nathan looked at me. The brakes showed signs of tampering in the initial assessment. The final version removed that detail. The elevator reached the penthouse. The doors opened. No one moved immediately, because that sentence changed everything. Inside, the atmosphere felt heavier than before. Elena walked straight to the window, staring out at the skyline. My mother was negotiating a shift in ownership before she died, she said quietly. She wanted protection in place for me. Landon looked at her sharply. Protection from who? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Nathan walked toward his desk and tapped on his tablet. I requested archived copies of the original police file this morning, he said. You already had this planned? I asked. I prepare for variables, he replied simply. A notification appeared on his screen. He read silently for a few seconds. Then he looked up. There are discrepancies, he said. Landon crossed his arms. Define discrepancies. The vehicle did not lose control naturally, Nathan answered. The preliminary technician flagged brake line interference. The room went completely still. And that was erased? I asked. Revised, Nathan corrected. Landon's voice dropped lower. You're saying someone intervened. Nathan didn't say the name. He didn't have to. Elena finally turned from the window. My mother wasn't reckless, she said. She was careful. She was paranoid about control shifting. Landon ran a hand through his hair. This is insane. No, I said quietly. This is layered. I felt strangely calm. Not dramatic, not shaken, clear. If your father knew she was pregnant, I continued, and she was about to secure shares under that child's name. Landon closed his eyes briefly. Don't. Nathan finished the thought. Then eliminating that transfer protected the existing structure. Silence. Heavy. Permanent. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. I saw the news. Are you safe? I stared at the screen for a moment. Yes, I typed back, but I wasn't sure what that meant anymore. Elena stepped closer to the table. If we reopen the case publicly, it forces forensic review. And tanks both companies, Landon added bitterly. It forces truth, she replied. Nathan looked at Landon directly. If you file the motion yourself, you control part of the narrative. Landon let out a dry laugh. You want me to bring down my own father? I want you to decide what kind of man you are, Nathan answered evenly. That landed, harder than any accusation. Landon looked at me. For once, there was no performance in his eyes. Do you believe this? He asked. I didn't hesitate. Yes, not because I hated Richard, not because I loved Nathan, but because too many pieces fit too cleanly. Landon looked at Elena. If this comes out, there's no undoing it. There was no undoing 1998 either, she said softly. He nodded once, slowly, then he straightened. I'll file the request to reopen the case. Nathan studied him. That puts you against your own board, I know. It could cost you everything. Landon looked at me again. Maybe it's time something cost me. That was the first honest thing he'd said in years. 3 weeks later, the case was officially reopened. Trading froze temporarily. Media exploded again. Richard Pierce stepped down citing personal reasons before formal proceedings began. The DNA results were validated in court. Elena was legally recognized as his daughter. Ownership shifted. Control fractured. But the war didn't burn the city down. It restructured it. One afternoon, in the same penthouse where everything started spiraling, the four of us sat around the table. Not as enemies. Not exactly as allies. As something more complicated. Elena would join the board. Nathan would maintain leadership. Landon would retain equity, but without absolute authority. Real balance. Not illusion. My mother sat by the window that day, stronger after her second round of treatment. Stability isn't boring, she told me softly. It's security. I smiled, because now I understood. Landon wasn't fire anymore. He was learning what it meant to stand in something uncomfortable and not run. Nathan wasn't refuge. He was structure. And me, I wasn't a pawn. I wasn't a spark. I wasn't the key someone needed to turn. I was the woman who stopped selling videos. The woman who stopped weaponizing jealousy. The woman who chose truth over thrill. Landon looked at me that afternoon. So what happens now, Harper? I took a breath. Now I live my life without trying to win. Elena raised her glass. To truth. Nathan added quietly. To balance. I looked out at the city one last time. I didn't marry for stability. I didn't go back to the fire. I built something else. Something that didn't need secrets to survive. And for the first time in a long time, there was no war. Peace is louder than chaos. I didn't expect that. For 3 weeks, the media fed on the story. Then slowly, it shifted to something else. A new scandal. A new distraction. But inside the boardrooms, nothing was quiet. Serena's legal recognition forced a redistribution of voting power. Nathan handled it cleanly. Efficiently. No victory speeches. Landon stopped showing up at nightclubs. That might have shocked me more than the DNA results. The first time I saw him after the reopening of the case, he was in Nathan's office. No crowd. No performance. Just the three of us. You really meant it, Landon said to me. About what? Not playing anymore. I'm tired, I answered honestly. He studied me like he was seeing something unfamiliar. I thought you loved the chaos, he said. I loved winning, I corrected. And now? Now I want something that doesn't collapse when the lights turn on. Nathan didn't interrupt. He let us talk. That was his power. He didn't need noise to control a room. Landon leaned back in his chair. My father's legal team is trying to negotiate, he said. Not criminal charges. Civil settlement. For sabotage? I asked. For negligence, he corrected quietly. So that was the strategy. Reduce intent. Avoid prison. Protect the name. Are you going to agree to it? I asked him. He didn't answer right away. I don't know, he admitted. He's still my father. That was the first crack. Not in the empire. In him. Later that evening, I visited my mom. She was sitting on the couch with a blanket over her shoulders, looking smaller than I remembered. You look different, she said as soon as I walked in. Different how? Calmer. I sat beside her. I stopped chasing men who make my heart race, I said. She smiled faintly. And my heart doesn't hurt as much. She squeezed my hand. That's growth. I didn't tell her about the envelope, or the anonymous messages, because those hadn't stopped. They'd just changed tone. No more threats, just short lines. You forced movement. He won't go quietly. Watch the settlement. The last message came that night. I stared at it for a long time, then I called Nathan. Come over, he said immediately. No questions. When I arrived, he was alone. No assistants, no security hovering in the room. Just him. I'm not marrying you, I said as soon as the door closed. He didn't look surprised. I didn't think you were. That disarmed me. You announced it. Yes. Strategically. Yes. And now? Now the board has stabilized. Public pressure redirected. The announcement served its purpose. I stared at him. So what am I to you? He walked closer, not touching me. You're someone who understands consequence. That's not romantic. I'm not romantic. For once, that didn't disappoint me. Do you want me? I asked bluntly. He considered that carefully. I respect you, he said. I trust your instincts. I don't underestimate you. That's not the same. No, he agreed. Silence stretched between us. Strangely comfortable. I don't want to be used again, I said quietly. You weren't used, he replied. I was positioned. He didn't deny it. I positioned myself too, I added. That was the truth. I wasn't innocent in any of this. Nathan stepped slightly closer. If you stay, he said, it won't be for strategy. And if I leave? I'll still respect you. No pleading, no manipulation, just clarity. That was stability. Not fireworks, not obsession, just ground that didn't move. My phone buzzed again. Landon. I answered this time. Meet me, he said. Where? Our old place. Velvet Room. I almost laughed. I don't go there anymore. Neither do I. I hesitated. Fine. When I arrived, the place felt different. Louder, smaller. Landon was sitting alone in the VIP section. No girls, no crowd. He stood when he saw me. I told them to close this section, he said, just in case. Just in case what? You didn't come. I sat across from him. You look tired, I said. He let out a breath. I am. He didn't reach for my hand. Didn't try to charm me. My father signed the civil agreement this morning, he said. What does that mean? It means he won't face criminal charges. And you're okay with that? No, the honesty surprised me. But if I push harder, he continued, the company collapses. Thousands of employees, families. There it was, consequence. You chose stability, I said quietly. He gave me a faint smile. I guess I learned something. Silence settled between us. Different from before. Not tense. Just real. Do you love him? He asked suddenly. Nathan. I thought about it. I don't know, I admitted. Do you love me? That question used to thrill me. Now it felt heavy. I loved how you made me feel, I said carefully. Like I was the only person in the room. And now? Now I want to be the only person in my own life. That hurt him. I could see it. But he nodded. You're not the same, he said. Neither are you. He stood up. So this is it? Yes. No drama, no shouting. Just two people who burned bright and finally understood the cost. As I walked toward the exit, he called out softly, Harper. I turned. You were never second, he said. I believed him. But it didn't matter anymore. Outside, the night air felt different, cleaner. When I got home, there was no envelope, no message, no threat, just silence. And for the first time since all of this started, silence didn't feel like the calm before something exploding. It felt like peace. But peace always has a price, and I was about to find out what mine would be. Peace does have a price. I just didn't realize it would be identity. A month after the settlement, the headlines faded completely. Richard Pierce retreated from public view. Serena officially took her seat on the board. Nathan stabilized the company structure with quiet precision. Landon stopped being a headline. And I stopped being a trigger. For the first time in years, my phone wasn't vibrating every hour. No threats, no strategy, no secret envelopes, just normal life, and that felt unfamiliar. One afternoon, I was sitting in my mother's kitchen while she slowly chopped vegetables, stubbornly insisting on doing it herself. You're thinking too much again, she said without looking up. I don't know who I am without the chaos, I admitted. She smiled softly. That's because you confused intensity with identity. That stayed with me. Later that evening, I met Nathan at his penthouse. No press, no announcements, no strategic positioning, just us. I'm stepping back, I told him. From what? He asked calmly. From all of it. The board dinners, the appearances, the speculation. He nodded once. I assumed you would. You did. You don't belong in rooms that run on quiet power, he said. You belong where you can breathe. That wasn't an insult. It was accurate. And us? I asked. He looked at me steadily. We were never about romance. No, we were about timing. I exhaled slowly. You were stability, I said. And you were momentum, he replied. We didn't kiss goodbye. We didn't dramatize it. We shook hands, strangely fitting, When I walked out of that building, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt released. A few days later, Landon asked to see me one last time. Not at Velvet Room, not at some dramatic location, just a quiet coffee shop in the middle of the afternoon. He looked different. Not tired. Grounded. "I sold the club shares," he said casually. I blinked. "You loved that place. I loved what it represented. And now? I don't need an audience." That surprised me more than anything else he had ever done. We sat in silence for a while. Not awkward, not loaded. Just two people who survived something. "You changed me," he said eventually. "I didn't mean to." "I know," he studied me. "You're not chasing anything anymore." "No." "Does that scare you?" "A little." He smiled faintly. "It shouldn't." We both knew there wasn't a future waiting for us, not because we didn't care, but because we had finally understood what we were to each other. We were fire. And fire is beautiful, but it's not meant to be lived inside forever. When we said goodbye, it wasn't dramatic. It was respectful. Final. That night, I stood in my apartment alone. No headlines, no billionaires, no war, just quiet. I walked to the mirror and looked at myself. For years, I thought I was clever because I could manipulate emotion. I thought I was powerful because I could destabilize men who thought they controlled everything. But real power wasn't in the exposure. It wasn't in the video. It wasn't even in 1998. It was in choosing not to escalate, in choosing not to sell the next secret, in choosing not to win. My mother's treatment started showing real progress 2 months later. Her scans improved. Not perfect, but hopeful. One evening, she looked at me and said, "You finally married the right thing." "What?" I asked. "Yourself." I laughed, but she was right. I didn't marry stability. I didn't return to the fire. I didn't attach myself to power. I built something quieter. I started working with a nonprofit that helps women navigate legal and financial manipulation in relationships. No cameras, no headlines, just real stories, real consequences, real change. Sometimes people still recognize my name. Sometimes they whisper about the Pierce scandal, but it doesn't belong to me anymore. It was never really mine to carry. I wasn't the spark. I wasn't the weapon. I wasn't the key. I was just the woman who decided the game wasn't worth playing anymore. And for the first time since I was a little girl memorizing my mother's golden rule, I rewrote it. Date whoever you want. Marry whoever you want. But never build your life around chaos just because it feels exciting. Because excitement fades, power shifts, secrets rot, but peace stays. And this time, I chose it.